ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
Rallies and vigils in Minneapolis, here in San Diego, and around the country to mark 1 year since George Floyd was killed by Officer Derek Chauvin. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Floyd's death, all caught on video, sparked outrage and nationwide protests calling for change. We have team coverage tonight on this story. ABC's Alex Perche reports on how Floyd is being remembered and the effort to enact federal police reform.
Tonight, memorials stretching from coast to coast, honoring the life and legacy of George Floyd 1 year after his death. Here in Minneapolis, the governor urged residents to observe a 9-minute and 29-second moment of silence, representing the amount of time Derek Chauvin kneeled on top of Floyd before his death. Floyd's passing brought out millions from all backgrounds demanding justice over the last year. In small towns and large cities, people protesting police brutality and pushing for racial justice. The outrage occasionally turning violent. Today, in the nation's capital, George Floyd's family met privately with President Biden and Vice President Harris at the White House.
He's a genuine guy.
The president talking about Gianna, George Floyd's daughter.
First thing she did when she ran in, just threw her arms around me, gave me a big hug, and wanted to sit in my lap.
Biden's message to the family, he's still hopeful there will be federal police reform passed soon, something he's told them he'd get done. Biden's goal was for Congress to have something ready to sign by today.
He set that deadline. He's not happy about it not being met, but all in all, he just wants the bill to be right and meaningful and that it holds George's legacy intact.
Now Democrats and Republicans are negotiating in the Senate.
Spoken with the negotiators. I'm hopeful that sometime after Memorial Day, we'll have an agreement on the George Floyd legislation. And so I'm optimistic.
The George Floyd policing bill would ban police chokeholds, eliminate the use of no-knock warrants, and create a national registry of police misconduct. The big sticking point? Whether to do away with protections that shield officers from civil lawsuits. 40 states and the District of Columbia have already passed their own significant police reforms. Alex Perche, ABC News, Minneapolis.
His life was taken for us to all make a change, and it starts with us.
Locally, dozens came together outside the county administration building to remember George Floyd, reflecting on the change in just the last year, but still calling for even more change. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo shows us how the group paid their respects.
Towards the end of the memorial, the county administration building was lit up in blue and green, the colors of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where George Floyd was killed.
What's his name?
George Floyd! 1 year after George Floyd was killed by former police officer Derek Chauvin, his cousin and dozens of San Diegans kneeled symbolically for nearly 9 minutes, marking the amount of time Chauvin's knee was on Floyd's neck.
9 minutes and 29 seconds.
If he can't breathe, you can't breathe. That's right. If he can't breathe, you can't breathe.
Floyd's cousin, Navy sailor Gary Jones, remembering the man he knew as Perry.
He was the kindest person.
Jones was deployed in Guam last year when Floyd was killed.
My cousin was a wonderful man. He was a dad, a father.
The memorial included a number of speakers calling for change to continue even after the anniversary of Floyd's death, urging the Senate to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
George Floyd Act. George Floyd Act.
The goal must be for our cities and our country. We must ensure that we don't have any more Derek Chauvins in our police department.
Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
Floyd's death forced law enforcement agencies across the country to take a hard look at their department practices. And today we spoke with the head of the San Diego Police Officers Association about what changes happened this past year and the challenges which still lie ahead. The POA represents nearly 2,000 police officers of every rank in our city. Many changes happened within the San Diego area and the police department this year, including a ban on carotid restraint, which which is also now state law. Voters also approved a new independent commission on police practices in San Diego, and more policing changes are on the horizon. Right now, there are more than 200 pieces of legislation in California on the table focused on law enforcement. The union president says there's still much work to do.
Hopefully we're getting to a better place where maybe we can be less divided, as far as the society. I think there's a lot of steps were made in the last year. Things don't change overnight, but I think that, if we keep having real honest discussions, even some of the ones that aren't so comfortable, I think that it can only lead to making better decisions.
San Diego police took other steps this year, including changes to its de-escalation policies. The sheriff's department made more than a dozen changes, including recruiting from more diverse communities.
We're obviously very worried, and we want to bring Joey home.
An Oceanside man is missing tonight after going on a hike to Joshua Tree 2 weekends ago. The family has searched the area every day since with no luck. Our ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano spoke to the hiker's uncle, who is desperate to find answers about his disappearance.
We just want to know he's okay.
San Marcos resident David Espinoza and his family are looking for a sign, any sign of his nephew Joey John Alvarez Espinoza. On Sunday, May 16th, Joey asked his grandmother to drive him up to 29 Palms to go on a hike.
He was last seen approximately 30 miles east of 29 Palms on Highway 62. And so he's walking south into the desert.
He said he'd be back soon, but hours turned into days.
He had a canteen of water, I believe. That's all he had.
By Wednesday, there was no communication from Joey, so the family filed a missing persons report.
He left his phone, and so...
Is that normal?
No. He doesn't do stuff like this.
Espinoza says the whole thing is strange. He says his nephew, a 20-year-old self-described homebody from Oceanside, never really ventured out of North County. He has always been close with his family and never kept anyone out of the dark. When she dropped him off, his grandmother last saw Joey, a heavy-set Latino man, in a dark blue shirt and black cargo shorts. He didn't have any camping equipment with him. Since last Wednesday, Joshua Tree National Park and San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department have sent out several search groups to the area. They've even had reports of about 15 sightings, but they've all turned up empty. As the days go on, Espinoza says the family's worries grow exponentially. They're just hoping that this is somehow just one big mistake.
Joey, if you're watching this or if you see this, I just want you to know that I love you, that your mom loves you, your grandmas love you, your tios, your tias, all your cousins, all your family. We're just worried about you, and we want to know that you're safe and to come home.
Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
If you think you have seen Joey Espinoza, you're asked to call or text the National Park Service investigation tip line at 760-401-3075.
There are major new developments in the killing of a local donut shop owner today. San Diego police announced they've arrested a man for the murder of Randy Tang. Tang was killed in a home invasion in Claremont 2 years ago. Police arrested Keon Wilson in Los Angeles and say he's also behind burglaries in Carlsbad and Poway. Tang owned Rose Donuts in Linda Vista. And we've obtained new video tonight of the woman accused of assaulting a flight attendant on a trip from Sacramento to San Diego. A witness recorded this video of security arresting Viviana Quinones for battery after the plane landed. The president of Southwest Airlines Union says the flight attendant was seriously injured, including losing 2 teeth. A Southwest spokesperson says Quinones reportedly ignored instructions from the flight crew. Passenger misbehavior is skyrocketing, according to the airline. In a letter, the union president says, quote, passengers who do not comply with regulations and federal mask mandates cause disruptions to our operations and to our customers' travel plans. They're calling for the airline to put more protections in place to keep the crew safe. In a typical year, the FAA sees between 100 and 150 cases of unruly passenger behavior. In the first 5 months of this year, there's already been more than 1,300 cases reported.
The special grand jury has been formed to decide whether former President Trump should be indicted for criminal business activities. Prosecutors in New York, they began investigating after Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, alleged crimes by the Trump Organization. That includes overstating the value of his properties to get loans, then understating them to pay lower taxes. That special grand jury could begin hearing witnesses soon. Trump says the investigation is purely political and calls it a witch hunt. Gubernatorial candidate John Cox is facing another lawsuit over his bear. Cox brings that bear on his campaign stops, including this one in San Diego earlier this month. Now, in the suit, the San Diego nonprofit Animal Protection and Rescue League accuses Cox of animal abuse and endangerment. The nonprofit says that Cox drugged and abused the animal as well as violated San Diego Municipal Code. So far, no comment from Cox on the suit.
And turning to coronavirus, our daily case numbers remain well below 100. Today, the county reported 71 new cases, and our test positivity rate was just under 1%. 4 more San Diegans lost their lives to COVID, bringing that total to more than 3,700.